I recently set up a photography studio in one of the rooms in our home. And it's relatively a small room. It's about 10.5 by 12 feet. It has 10-foot ceilings and it has light colored walls, which I sort of like because this way the light just bounces all over. So you get a nice fill light all over. So I just want to share with you on the lighting setup that I'm using. Mainly I'm using this setup for head and shoulder type portraits like headshots, business glossies. Of course, you can also do this for high school seniors and some glamour shots. You could do a similar setting like this for family portraits also. So let's go through and show you some of the different lights that I'm using. And as you probably know, there's at least 101 different ways you can use light in photography. And I'm going to show you my way that I'm using for this type of portrait. So mainly the main light that I'm using is a photogenic power light, and it's shot through a softbox, which is 30 inches by 38 inches. And I generally set this either to my right, roughly about 45 degrees to my right, or about 45 degrees to my left. And this is actually set so the light falling on the subject reads about f8. And the next light is called a fill light. Now, in my situation, I prefer bouncing the fill light off the back wall, like I'm doing here. This particular light I'm using is called an Alien Bee light. It's made by Alien Bees, and it's a relatively inexpensive light. It's a pretty good light system. And I'm just bouncing this off the back wall. And as you can see, I'm a little bit of a disadvantage here because my back wall has a hole in it. It's got an archway here. But it works out fine because the walls are off-white and the light just bounces all over. So it does a nice job, giving me some nice fill. The next light that I'm showing you is called the hair light. And I have this on a Bogen light stand, and this is pretty much all the way towards the top of the ceiling, which is close to 10 feet up. And this is aimed down towards the subject's hair. Notice here I'm using 2 light stands with a pole that connects to each light stand on each side. And on this, you can get several different poles. You could use different backgrounds. You could use muslin backgrounds. You can also use seamless paper, all different colors if you want to, other canvases, that type of thing. So in this particular case, I'm using a background that was hand painted by a background painter artist named Michael Green. He does a really beautiful job of painting these canvas backgrounds, and he also has all different muslin setups. He does a really beautiful job. As a matter of fact, I believe he's the grandson of the late Lamar Williamson, who was a pretty famous background painter for a lot of portrait photographers that used his backgrounds. But anyway, Michael Green painted this background, and as you could see, it's a little bit brighter in the center, and then it goes darker towards the ends and to the sides and the bottom, which is nice because you can easily get away without using a background light here if you really don't want to. But the next light that I'm setting up here is a background light, and I'm using this background light here about 3-4 feet away from the background. And the background light here actually reads about f11, so it's more of like a spotlight effect here because I have a honeycomb type grid on the background light here. And if I want to cover more light on the background, I'll just pull that grid off. It's very simple to do. The hair light, by the way, gives me a reading of about 5.6.5, between 5.6 and f8 falling on the model's hair. And the other light that I use, I really like using this light. It's called a kicker light. And it really adds a nice effect. It just seems to add more dimension to your photograph. So this is pretty much the lighting setup that I'm using when I do my headshots. So next we're going to go ahead and do a headshot type portrait, and I'm going to show you what each light does.